Walters is the spot again for Florida State football. Opener is a big one, Saturday, August 30th at 3:30 against Alabama. Walters has plenty of TVs, both inside and outside, located across the street from the ballpark.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
Right fielder Soto is playing off the line, swinging a shot, fair! Past the diving Alonso and down the right field line into the corner. Rounding third is Cruz, he will score. Rounding second is Millas, heading for third, and the relay gets away from McNeil, and Millas is in with a triple. Drew Millas with a shot down the right field line and into the corner. And he has his first Major League 3-base hits. His 7th RBI in the big leagues this year, 3 extra base hits in the inning, and it's now the Nationals 4, the Mets nothing. Lord sets with 1 out of the inning. His pitch, swinging a line drive down the left field line. It is fair, and it will go into foul ground all the way into the corner. Soto trots in from third. Alonso around third. He will score, and into second with an opposite field line drive 2-run double is Jeff McNeil. He drives in his 39th and 40th runs of the year with his 16th double. This is now a 1-run game. The Nationals 5 and the Mets 4.
Mullins at first, the 2-0 pitch. Swinging a ground ball, softly hit right side. Garcia has it to Abrams for 1, to first, 2, double play. The game's over, and the Nationals win it 5-4. Senior double play dials up another one, and the Nationals dial up a win, and even this series against the Mets. They hold on with great work by the bullpen. A victory for Brad Lord, a save for Ferrer. The Nationals take Game 2 against the Mets by a single run, 5-4 the final.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The Nationals have a chance for a winning homestand on what appeared to be a daunting homestand. The Nats on Thursday will conclude a 7-game homestand against the 2 best teams in the National League East. The Nats split a 4-game series with the NL East leading Philadelphia Phillies this past Thursday through Sunday, and the Nats have split the first 2 games of a 3-game series against the New York Mets. Wednesday evening, a 5-4 win over the Mets at Nationals Park, improving the Nats to 51-75 in MLB's 2025 regular season. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. And we have a website you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. Good offense by the Nats on Wednesday evening. Good relief pitching by the Nats in this game. Brad Lord was good until he was not good. Nats interim manager Miguel Cairo got ejected in the top of the 6th inning. So a little bit of everything, it felt like, in this game. But Mark, a good win for the Nats and an opportunity here for a really good homestand.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that fact, Al, but you're right. At minimum, they've gone 3-4, and with Mackenzie Gore on the mound on Thursday, a chance at 4-3. Who would have seen that one coming? I'll tell you, this was a fun baseball game. This was a good, compelling, tight, 1-run game with a lot of different angles to it. There was good offense that was so desperately needed after the lackluster performance on Tuesday night. You know, Brad Lord was good and solid, and as you said, until he wasn't. It did kind of fall apart on him in the 6th. But oh my God, what a job by the bullpen. 4 pitchers used in some spots you wouldn't necessarily have always thought of them as being ideally suited for, coming together with 3 2/3 scoreless innings against the Mets lineup. That is no small feat to hold a 1-run lead like that. That, to me, was the story of the game, how those 4 guys pulled that off against a very good team and made sure that this fun night at the ballpark wound up a win for them. There haven't been a lot of these. You know, even when they win games, a lot of times it's fairly mundane, or they get a great starting performance and they actually blow a team out. A good, tense 1-run game against a quality opponent like that to me was one of their more fun games they've played in quite a while.
Watching the game in real time, it was not clear why Miguel Cairo got ejected. Do we know why Miguel Cairo got ejected?
Yeah, he said it was balls and strikes, and it wasn't just in that moment, but I think it had been building up. And he said that, Brad Lord had been really throwing strikes all night long. And then he starts getting squeezed in the sixth some. And he just felt like, look, my guy has already established the strike zone, has established he throws strikes. Yes, he's facing the top of their order, some big name guys named Lindor and Soto. How about just keep calling those pitches strikes? And there were a few of them in there. I think the most egregious one was actually after he was ejected with Cole Henry on the mound. So probably things kind of bubbling up over a little while there. I thought it might have been, because it was during the Mark Vientos at bat, Jake Irvin had the issue with Vientos the night before with this whole issue of looking up at the pitcher and then looking down and prompting Irvin to start his delivery, which is a violation. It's like a quick pitch, essentially. As long as the hitter does that before 9 seconds, it's okay. I thought it had something to do with that, but it doesn't look like it did. But I'll tell you what, Miguel Cairo has been tossed 3 times now since taking over as manager, 6 weeks ago? Not necessarily what you expect. He is showing emotion. And whether it was him or whether it was Henry Blanco, who I think we have to refer to as the interim manager, whoever was calling the shots in this game, there were a lot of decisions to make down the stretch, and they pulled it off in impressive fashion.
I just hate the subtle managerial ejection. Like, if you're going to get tossed, make a show of it. Like, give us some theater. I can't stand when a manager gets tossed and you're like, wait a second, did he get tossed? Why did he get tossed? What happened there? Why a manager got tossed requires explanation. That defeats the whole purpose of the ejection. You want to be able to see it and enjoy it and revel in it. And we really did not get to do that in this game. But yes, Cairo guided the Nats from wherever he was to this win. The Nats offense in this game, 5 runs, 7 hits, 3 walks, 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position. The Nats had some extra base hits. The 7 hits were comprised of a homer, a triple, 2 doubles, and 3 singles. And one night after the Nats got worked by Mets starting pitcher David Peterson, the Nats worked the Mets starting pitcher Kodai Sega, who statistically speaking is better than David Peterson. But the Nats in this game got to Senga, solved the puzzle that is Kodai Sega. He allowed 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 innings. This Nats offense makes you want to scream because you see how good this offense can be 24 hours after the offense looked completely inept. And you're like, why can't we see more of what we saw on Wednesday evening as compared to what we saw on Tuesday evening? But the Nats had some big hits in this game. Dylan Cruz, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 7 batter, 1 for 3 with an RBI double and a walk. Cruz in the Nats 2-run fourth, a 1-out RBI double to left field for a 3-0 Nats lead. Drew Millas, he continues to hit. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, 1 for 2 with an RBI triple. Millas in that Nats 2-run fourth, a 1-out RBI triple down the right field line for a 4-0 Nats lead. Josh Bell had the homer. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 3 batter, 1 for 3 with a solo homer. Also had an RBI sac fly. Bell in the Nats 1-run fifth, a 1-out solo homer to right center for a 5-1 Nats lead. The homer going a projected 420 feet per Statcast. It's interesting, no Nats player had more than 1 hit in this game, but this was a good offensive performance. And yeah, the Nats got to Kodai Senga.
You saw the adjustment, good quality at bats from them. They came into this one and the approach was right there. Miguel Cairo said it before the game. They had to get the ball up in the zone. We saw the night before with Peterson flailing away at stuff at the knees or below, reaching, hitting weak ground balls to the pull side. With Senga, a guy who throws the fork ball, a lot of other stuff that's meant to break down and get you to pound the ball into the ground. The idea was if you see it starting out low, let it go. Even if it's at the knees, just let it go. You might get the ball called. Even if you swing at it, you're not going to make good contact. Wait for something up in the zone. And so I actually think maybe the 2 most important plate appearances came in the 3rd inning, and that was Dylan Cruz and James Wood each drawing a walk, showing the patience, not biting on those pitches down in the zone. They wind up scoring 2 runs, even though it was not exactly an offensive onslaught there. It was an infield single and a sac fly that got them home, but they got on the board, loosened up a little bit. And then the next time around in the 4th inning, that's where they started to hit the ball with authority. 2 doubles, the triple, and then the next inning, the Josh Bell home run. So good on them for having a game plan, first of all, and then following through with it and taking advantage of the pitcher instead of letting the pitcher control the way that they were going to approach those at-bats.
84 pitches for Senga over 5 innings. The Nats made him work in this game, no doubt, and the results ended up being quite good. Hey, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation. Labor Day is coming. Summer is winding down in the Washington, D.C. area. Your air conditioning is working overtime, just trying to keep your house and you cool and comfortable. What can you do to make a difference? Well, you can replace your old or builder-grade windows with windows from Window Nation. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the following deal that you're about to hear about here on the Nats Chat podcast. This month only, you can schedule a consult and get 50% off all window styles. Plus, you could even get your windows with 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 2 years. 866-90NATION or windownation.com. Tell Window Nation that Al Galdi from the Nats Chat podcast sent you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
It was just, mixing and matching speeds and just pounding the zone. Early in the game, I was in the zone a lot, getting a lot of weak contact. And, kind of in that 6th inning is when I kind of fell behind a lot of hitters. And, those 2 walks just kind of set me up for, a rough inning on that one.
Here's the kick and the pitch. Swinging a ground ball sharply hit. Garcia has it in shallow right, backing up. Turns, throws to first. The inning is over. A rocket off the bat of Terrens. Garcia handles it, throws him out, and the Nationals escape the inning with a lead.
Brad Lord. So he was the Nats starting pitcher in this 5-4 win over the Mets on Wednesday evening. He was doing well, but he ended up having a disappointing outing. 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings ends up being the final line. He gave up 7 hits, which were a home run, 3 doubles, and 3 singles. So he gave up 4 extra base hits. He issued 2 walks. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He threw 92 pitches, 57 strikes, 35 balls. Lord in the top of the 5th gave up a 2-out solo homer by Brett Beatty to the second deck in right field as Beatty, for a second time in 2 games in this series, homered to the second deck in right field. This homer going a projected 455 feet per Statcast. That was some shot by Beatty. Cut the Nats lead to 4-1. And then Lord in the top of the 6th allowed 3 runs. He began the inning by issuing back-to-back walks of Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. Gave up a 1-out opposite field RBI double by Pete Alonso to right field, and gave up a 1-out opposite field 2-run double by Jeff McNeil to left field to cut the Nats lead to 5-4. So Brad Lord went from allowing 1 run in 5 innings to allowing 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings. I think we both do this, right? You watch the game and you think about, okay, what are we going to talk about after the game? In your case, what are we going to talk about, or what are you going to write about? Brad Lord was looking like the story once again, and then things really did come apart for him in that 6th inning.
Yeah, and yet, I don't think it's as bad as the line showed. A little bit of a Michael Soroka kind of situation where he was really good and then 1 inning kind of skewered it. And in this case, what are we really talking about? It's 2 walks, and yes, that's annoying that you start off the inning like that. Maybe he was squeezed a little bit, but he still threw 8 balls to Lindor and Soto. Then he strikes out Marte. And then the 2 doubles were these like cue shots to the opposite field that just landed in fair territory. Now, yes, they got the job done and they scored the 3 runs, but it wasn't like he was getting hit hard in those spots. Now, I understand why Cairo pulled him. He's facing the lineup the 3rd time. I think it's really about the walks more than anything at that point. But I come out of that thinking he did really pitch better than that final line 4 in 5 1/3 innings is going to look. It was unfortunate the way that it ended for him. Thankfully, the bullpen hung on and preserved it for him. What he did the first 4 innings, especially vintage Brad Lord, working fast, throwing strikes, got a couple double plays to get himself out of a few innings. The pitch count was low. He was at 52 after 4 innings. More and more, this is looking legitimate. It's still not quite enough to make any major declarations. We just talked the other night about how Jake Irvin at the All-Star break last year looked fantastic, and look what's happened to him since. So I don't want to jump the gun on Brad Lord. But what we've seen from him so far, there's a lot to like, even in a game like this where the final pitching line didn't look as good.
I think you still have to be supremely encouraged by what you're seeing from Brad Lord. And I was thinking about this, and, who knows what next season will look like? Who knows who will be calling the shots, etc. But I'm interested in seeing Brad Lord next season as a full-time starter where he knows he's a starter. He can focus on being a starter. You know what he's doing right now? He's doing in a season in which he has been toggled between starter, reliever. This is his second stint in the Nats rotation, just like he had 2 stints in the bullpen. Imagine if he could have focused from the get-go, focused from day one of spring training on being a starting pitcher. Where might he be? And if he has that luxury next year, you'd like to think that could lead to even better things for him as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he will be a full-time starter next year, no matter who's calling the shots. Certainly if Mike DeBartolo is calling the shots, I think he had a lot to do with this decision, along with Miguel Cairo. But I think barring a collapse down the stretch, or barring a free agent splurge by the Nationals to sign a couple of big-name free agent starting pitchers, and I'm going to guess that that's not all that likely, I'll say that Lord does come in next year as a full-time starter. He looks the part. He's still going to get well over 100 innings before season's end, which is great to see. It's just been so impressive how he has managed, no matter what the role is, how he has come out and done the same thing. And this transition, especially the second time through, the transition back into the starter, it was seamless. I was kind of questioning it at the time. Like, you're really going to do this mid-season, asking him to build his arm back up to a starter's workload, and it took like 2.5 starts, and he was right back there again, and has been off and running ever since. That, to me, beyond even what the results are, just the way he has navigated his way through this back and forth changing season on him, you wouldn't even know it the way he's pitched. That has been most impressive to me.
Yeah, there's a resilience with him. There's a toughness with him to do what he's doing, to say nothing of his background, right? 18th round draft pick, and he's pitching like this at the major league level. The Nats relief pitching in this 5-4 win over the Mets on Wednesday evening, really good. 4 Nats relievers combined for 3 2/3 scoreless innings. Cole Henry tossed 2/3 of a scoreless inning, came into the game top of the 6th, went out, runner on second, and the Nats up 5-4. Got victimized by a throwing error by third baseman Paul DeJong, then issued a 1-out walk of Brett Beatty to load the bases, despite Beatty having been down at 1.02. This was looking like a disaster for Cole Henry, but he worked his way out of this. He generated 2 outs and escaped the jam. And then the Nats bullpen rolled. Shinnousuke Ogasawara tossed a perfect top of the 7th. Clayton Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 8th in facing the Mets numbers 4 through 6 batters and Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, and Mark Vientos. And Jose A. Ferrer continued to shine as the Nats' new closer/ace reliever. He tossed a scoreless top of the 9th for the save. This was a really interesting outing for the Nats bullpen, not just because these 4 guys ended up being supremely effective, but you had Shinnousuke Ogasawara and Clayton Beeter facing key bats in the Mets lineup and coming through. I tell you, Ogasawara is looking pretty good in this new role that he has as a latter inning reliever for the Nats. And I was interested to see if Miguel Cairo would go to Ferrer in the 8th, given that the Mets 4 through 6 batters were coming up. We've seen Cairo do this recently with Ferrer. Did not do that. Had Beeter face that middle of the Mets order. Beeter was good. Ferrer faced the bottom of the order and got the save.
Yeah, I think the surprise there is that, as it turned out, Ferrer faced the 3 worst hitters in theory, but he only did that because the 2 guys in front of him were so good, they were lights out, that it never got to that point. I'm pretty sure that Beeter was only going to face those 3 because now it's a lefty coming up in Brett Beatty, and then Cedric Mullins after that, Torrens, and then top of the lineup. I think Ferrer would have come in at that point, but it didn't get to that, which is a great testament to Clayton Beeter, and prior to that, Shinnousuke Ogasawara. I'll tell you what, Ogasawara has now, just in the last 3 days, has faced Kyle Schwarber twice, Bryce Harper, Francisco Lindor, and Juan Soto, and they've gone 0 for 5 against him. And they've actually been in competitive situations, not, garbage time kind of stuff. I don't know if this is going to work in the long run, but for a guy who looked like a lost cause not very long ago, it's quite possible they found something for him to do. And if he actually could turn into a one-inning lefty reliever who can face some big-name hitters, and what was key is he only threw one fastball to those 3 guys. It's all off-speed, it's change-ups, curveballs. It's, I think, a better way for a guy with his stuff to be effective in the big leagues. As a starter, you have to throw your fastball. We know his fastball just isn't that good. Maybe they figured something out here with him. And the term that came to my mind about this is maybe the Nats have found a new secret weapon. Shinnousuke Ogasawara. Who would have seen that one coming?
Well, I don't know. I feel like that is gimmick infringement on our guy Paolo Espino. I'm not sure if we're allowed to do that, although if Chauvrus has any secret weapon t-shirts left, maybe we should do that to try to sell some more merch. Well, I'll say this about Ogasawara. You go back to his, Chauvrus says we're sold out of those shirts. That's too bad. If you go back and you look at Ogasawara's stats in Japan, right, didn't strike guys out. He doesn't strike guys out now, but he does not give up home runs, and that's key. We talked about Jackson Rutledge, right, the extreme degree to which he gives up homers. If you're a reliever and you don't give up homers, you induce ground balls, like there's a lot of value in that. Yes, you'd prefer the reliever to be a strikeout guy, but if he isn't, if it can be someone who doesn't give up homers and induces ground balls, there's something there. And with Ogasawara, maybe there is something there. It would be great if that's the case. And now is the time to try this stuff out. And I give him credit. So far, he's doing well. I mean, Ogasawara and Jose A. Ferrer have been elevated to these roles in recent weeks, and I give them a ton of credit. So far, they have embraced these roles, and they are thriving in these roles.
100%. And as we talked about, sometimes being put into the more prominent role, even if you haven't necessarily shown to that point that you're up for it, sometimes just being in that spot brings out the best in you. I can only imagine what was going through Shino's head all this time as he pitched in Rochester, and then up here, a couple of just ugly starts when he did get the chance to pitch, and then a couple of blowout appearances. That can't be fun for him. He can't. This guy uprooted his life. It came halfway around the world to pitch in the big leagues, and this is what he wound up doing. So maybe, I'm sure it's a little blow to the ego for a guy who assumed that he was going to be able to start at this level because that's what he had done throughout his career. But sometimes you find your niche in other ways, and I hope that he is going to embrace this. And I agree. Let's keep seeing it. The key now is going to be, can he get these same hitters out again? Once they've kind of figured out what he is. There's a little bit of a novelty factor right now for these big name guys who've never seen him before. Let's see if it happens, and maybe he'll face Harper and Schwarber again in Philadelphia coming up this weekend. That would be nice to see how that goes. You got nothing to lose. You paid this guy $3.5 million. Let's find out if he can be of any value to you, and they may have found something there with that.
Yeah, this weekend is going to be so interesting. Cade Cavalli, how does he do in this second go-round against the Phillies? A guy like Ogasawara, how does he do in this second go-round against the Phillies?
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Right now it's like I want to make sure I want to put a good team too in there. And DeJong has been swinging the bat good. Garcia really good against righties.
All right. I don't want to bring up what I'm about to bring up, but you know what? We're not doing our jobs if I don't bring this up. Brady House on Wednesday evening did not start for the fourth time in 9 games. Miguel Cairo, during his pregame session with you guys, addressed this. What did the interim skipper have to say about why Brady House has become a part-time player?
He basically said that right now, and citing his offensive struggles, and they've been fairly significant here, that he wants to try to find the best matchups for him that give him the best chance for success. So I understand that. The problem is it seems like the matchups he believes are the best designed for him are against lefties instead of righties, even though if you look at the numbers, and it's a small sample, yes, but if you look at the numbers, House has been considerably better against righties than lefties, been awful against lefties. So I don't know how much that holds true, what Cairo is trying to say. Now, he also mentioned that Paul DeJong has played so well. He flat out said, I also want to win games here. And in his mind, there are nights when it seems like Paul DeJong being in the lineup gives them a better chance. Now, he spoke up, Brady House, and said that they're really working with him, that he's confident he's going to figure it out, that he will be playing. But it's been pretty noticeable here over the last week and a half how it's not like he's just getting an occasional day off. It's kind of almost every other day at this point. And while, yes, there's the case to be made that DeJong has played better at this point, what is more important in the long run, giving Brady House as many opportunities as you can the rest of the way to find out and see if he can figure his way out of an early season slump, or is it getting more at-bats for Paul DeJong? I think you and I both know the answer to that question. So I hope this is not the way it's going to be the rest of the way, but I think there's also a little bit of onus on Brady when he does get to play to go out there and do something at the plate to force the issue and not give Cairo reason to bench him more.
Brady House has only been in the majors for a little more than 2 months. I think it feels a lot longer to most people because the last 2 months feel like about 2 years if you're a Nats fan. Okay, let's be honest about this. But June 16th was when the Nats announced having selected the contract of House from AAA Rochester. He's so early into his major league tenure. Like, he's had so few opportunities in the grand scheme of things. This to me is ridiculous. This is a team going nowhere. This guy should be playing on a near everyday basis. There is no excuse for him to not start 4 out of 9 games like this in the middle of a lost season. And I think this is malpractice by Miguel Cairo in doing this. And I'll also even say this. His whole thing about wanting to win games, there's an element of selfishness here, okay? This is not about heightening the stock of Miguel Cairo. This is not about, can Miguel Cairo get the full-time job? Like, this should be about developing your younger players. You should be doing everything you can to develop your key young players, even if that comes at the expense of winning. And Miguel Cairo should recognize that. And if he doesn't, somebody should tell him that. This is not showcase Miguel Cairo time. This is showcase Brady House time. And I really find this to be off-putting, that House isn't playing on a near everyday basis. I think this is laughable. The Nats have lost the position to take of we're trying to win, okay? Like, that's gone. That's done. This season is over and has been over for a while. Play your young guys. And if they develop and play well, you probably will win. Like, it doesn't have to be an either-or scenario. But especially with Brady House, a guy who you spent a number 11 overall pick on in the 2021 MLB draft, a guy who, when he was promoted to the majors 2 months ago, was the number 91 overall prospect in the sport per MLB pipeline. This isn't some fringe prospect. This is supposed to be one of your foundational pieces. For him to be a part-time player right now, I find that to be inexcusable.
So, what was interesting is that in that same pregame session, Cairo was asked about first base with Josh Bell and Andres Chaparro, because Chaparro had that nice game on Tuesday night, and then he was out of the lineup the following day. And Cairo actually made a point to say that Chaparro is going to play more. And he even used the phrase, not just referring to himself, but that the organization, saying they want him to play. They want to see more of him.
They want to see him play. They're going to put him in there. And he played really good defense too. So I was very impressed about that.
So a little bit of an acknowledgement there that it's not all his call, that the front office understands the bigger picture and wanting to see as much as they can of the young guys, and you would think that would apply to third base as well. I don't know if that's been a direct conversation between him and Mike DeBartolo, and if DeBartolo has pushed him to try to play House more. We'll see as this goes along. But I thought it was interesting because it was like within the same conversation about why he's not playing Brady House more, he's acknowledging that the organization wants to play the young guys and saying that he will, almost like he understands what the assignment is, which is, as you've been pointing out, play the young guys. It's not about wins and losses now the rest of the way.
I'm not a fan in general of the general manager telling the manager what to do. I think that neuters the manager. The players pick up on that kind of thing. I think they lose respect for the manager when that happens. But, in a case like this, I think Mike DeBartolo would be well within his rights to say to Miguel Cairo, play Brady House more, play him on a near everyday basis. Yes, he's struggling, but he can't work his way out of those struggles if he doesn't play. And again, this isn't about you, Miguel. This is about Brady House and other younger players here. Speaking of key young players for the Nats, Eli Willits is coming to the FredNats. Very exciting. We on the Nats Chat podcast are big fans of Single A Fredericksburg, and the FredNats are getting the man on whom the Nats spent the #1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, this was good to see. You never know with especially a high school player when he's drafted, is he going to be deemed ready to play low A ball? And so remember, Eli Willits is 17 years old. He's going to be going up against guys who are several years older than him. So he had been down at West Palm Beach for the last almost a month, actually. They had the rookie level Florida Complex League down there over the summer, but that season actually ended only a few days after he arrived. I'm not sure why this is. It didn't used to be that way. It was a longer season and it was very much designed for those guys who were just drafted that summer to go and get some actual professional experience. So he's been there, not playing in any official games, but my understanding is they still do like these inter-squad stuff and even some exhibitions, I guess you call them, against the other teams who train in that area, like the Astros and the Cardinals and the Marlins. So I think there was something resembling game action for him, but it's nothing that you're going to find a box score on or have any official stats. So I was glad to see that they deemed him, yes, he is ready for this. There's only 18 games left, I believe, in the Fredericksburg season before that ends. So it's going to be a small little window, about 2.5 weeks. But good to get him out there. Let's see what the kid can do. He is a kid. You're going to live with the growing pains. It may not be great right off the bat. Hopefully it is. Hopefully he flashes some of that immense potential that he has. But it's been a while since, we've had a reason to pay that much attention to a super young player making his professional debut like that. And while it's not going to be Steven Strasburg, Bryce Harper kinds of attention, because those were off the charts, hopefully there is some attention, and hopefully he gives people reason to pay attention to what he does over these next 2.5 weeks.
If he does well and stays healthy, do you think it's realistic to think that a year from now he could be at AA Harrisburg, that he could be concluding his 2026 season at AA, or is that a little too aggressive?
To be there at age 18 at AA would be very aggressive, but I don't know exactly Mike DeBartolo or whoever else is in charge. I don't know their mindset, but I know that Mike Rizzo would always say the player will tell you when he's ready. So I would think, because it's only going to be 2.5 weeks, that they would start him again in Fredericksburg to begin next year rather than bump him up to Wilmington already. So I would guess he starts the year there. If he does really well and it's clear he's better than that level, you move him up to high A, and then you decide along the way, is he mastering that level to the extent that you think, yes, he can handle it? It is a lot. There are very few who do that quickly. Normally, it would be somebody out of college that you'd be willing to move at that kind of pace. Now, we know that Willits himself has said that his goal is to reach the big leagues at 20. Well, I'll tell you what, even if it takes him 2 years to get to AA, he'll still only be 19 and be 2 steps away from the big league. So even if he does that, that's still impressive. And so I would not get too worked up if he doesn't get there next year. I would say get through a full season healthy, show that he can dominate at the levels that he plays at, and then you move him up as he proves that he's mastered each level.
Yeah, if he does really well, him reaching the majors in his age 19 season is conceivable. I mean, I'm not saying you put money on that happening, but if he is the player who he was drafted to be, it's not unthinkable that he ends up doing that given how young he is. We'll see. All right, so the Nats have a chance to make this a winning 7-game homestand against the Phillies and Mets. Game 3 against the Mets Thursday afternoon, 4:05. Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. Hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a website you can check out, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Here is the set. Ogasawara delivers. Swing and a miss. Struck him out with a breaking ball to end the inning. Impressive 1-2-3 inning for Shinnousuke Ogasawara.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.